Yet another intriguing thing about male sexual function and how long it takes us to come. There are two opposing problems. We have premature or early ejaculation, where guys come sooner than they desire, repeatedly, much to their frustration. And then there's the opposite situation, delayed ejaculation, taking too long to come, not being able to get there as soon as you want to, repeatedly, and much to the guy's frustration. Now, this problem is sometimes called impaired ejaculation or even inadequate ejaculation, which sounds a bit harsh to me, but there we are. Of course, both of these scenarios frustrate our partners too. I think delayed ejaculation possibly more so, with the potential for pain and soreness, or just trying to stay awake long enough. Now, maybe partners enjoy the DE experience at first, but not so much with PE. This guy can go and go, but it gets old quickly. By some estimates, women prefer regular intercourse to last for 7 to 13 minutes. And beyond that, it feels too long. Delayed ejaculation is a bit less common too. It's estimated that 3% of guys experience it, compared to around 30% experiencing early ejaculation, which is interesting. And a lot of men in the PE camp tend to envy the DE guys a bit. Lasting too long sounds like a good problem to have, but it's not. As the NHS website says, men can take up to 60 minutes to ejaculate, maybe even longer. Maybe they can't reach ejaculation at all. That is a long time. That's problematic in a relationship. Guys with DE can find themselves feeling less of a man, something often echoed by PE guys too. So the similarities between delayed and early ejaculation. Well, as well as being a huge source of frustration, there are other factors that DE and PE have in common. Both can be temporary or feel more lifelong, when it's pretty much always happened throughout our sexual history. Both can be caused by medical conditions, so a medical checkup is always a good idea. Our serotonin levels and receptors are a common factor, but in different ways. SSRI medication, which raises serotonin levels, is a treatment for depression, and delayed orgasm and ejaculation is a very common side effect of SSRI medication. Raise serotonin levels and it takes longer to come. And for this reason, this side effect, SSRI medication has become a treatment for premature ejaculation. Rightly or wrongly, and I've delved into this in other videos. Now, anxiety, and particularly performance anxiety, is a significant factor in DE and PE. Guys can find themselves taking too long when trying for a baby, for example, with all the stresses for both partners around that. And when it's particularly acute, some anti-anxiety medications can help with delayed ejaculation. They get the anxiety levels down. Alcohol is a factor in DE and PE, and there's a tipping point where drinking can result in either outcome. Now see my video about that and some tips for finding the sweet spot. DE and PE can randomly happen at times. Both can occur due to tiredness or feeling distracted or just one of those things on the night. And that's just fine. It's only problematic if it happens regularly. So don't assume that once or twice is anything to worry about. Both can lead to faking. Men with DE fake orgasm sometimes, and men with PE try to keep going sometimes and pretend they haven't come. Now, one of these is easier to pull off than the other, but neither is optimal, of course. And finally, guys who experience DE often find that they come sooner when masturbating, and vice versa for guys who experience PE. They last longer when going solo. So it's all a bit of a paradox, isn't it? What can men with premature ejaculation learn from delayed ejaculation treatment? Now, Sex therapy and counselling can help with both, but there are some specific things in DE treatment that might be of interest to guys looking to last longer, and potentially vice versa too. For starters, both DE and PE guys should consider making sure there's good communication with their partners. We know that partners sometimes interpret both problems as signs of waning attraction or not caring enough, and this adds extra pressure and stress. Guys should definitely get a medical checkup too, just to be sure. Review any medications that you're on, particularly SSRI medication, and consider whether any recreational substances might be having an effect too. Now here's the thing, masturbation style. Now when men who experience DE are assessed for treatment, they sometimes have a more unique masturbatory technique. Now what do I mean by that? They might be in the habit of stimulating themselves really quickly, or using the death grip, or focusing on a particular spot. They might be giving themselves skin irritation, or desensitizing their penis in some way. And the way they're getting off is pretty far removed from the movements and the sensations of intercourse. So they've conditioned themselves to reach ejaculation in a somewhat special way that sex with a partner just doesn't duplicate. So the therapy for DE guys is making a few adjustments so that masturbation feels a bit more similar to intercourse. Fleshlights and lube and things like that are often recommended. So for PE guys, is there any takeaway there? Make masturbation a bit more of a frenzy, develop your death grip. I wouldn't recommend this approach. Maybe try switching hands, mixing things up a bit. Now, in terms of skin sensitivity, we can see why numbing sprays and wipes might help to delay the build-up of feeling and excitement. But slow down your masturbation technique, if anything. Take your time and get used to staying aware of your environment. The intense or far out masturbation habit zooms in attention and focus, raising the heat, getting guys off sooner. So take an opposite approach to last longer. Be mindful of everything around you and notice, even speak out loud, the sensations that you're feeling. And that's a top tip when you're on your own. So put your phone down and notice what's going on when you masturbate. And while we're on the subject of masturbation, there's frequency too. Guys who want to come sooner are advised to masturbate less, cut it out even. So when they get with their partners, they naturally have more need to release. It doesn't require as much time and stimulation. So for men who want to slow things down, it could be that they aren't masturbating often enough. So it makes sense to take the opposite approach to reset the clock a bit more regularly. Now, some guys feel the desire to masturbate more often than others. So it might be every day or every couple of days or weekly. And it does need to fit with your schedule and your home life so that you can take your time and be more in your body. More of a rushed and furtive masturbation sessions, and that'll have the opposite effect as we saw earlier. One more significant thing that men who experience premature ejaculation can take away from all this: sexual excitement. Now that's a big difference between the DE and the PE camps, and it's the levels of excitement during intercourse. Very often, men who take too long, they're just not feeling enough excitement in their minds. Now this might be for a number of reasons: distracting thoughts, discomfort with their appearance, unmet needs in or out of the bedroom, boredom. There are lots of possibilities. So therapy for DE involves finding ways to raise excitement levels, to explore hot fantasies, and to kickstart our sexual imaginations. Couples find ways to rediscover some of that early relationship novelty, that rush of intimacy. But for men who struggle with PE, a bit of the opposite might be in order here. And I often talk about making sex a bit less exciting. If the prospect of sex with your partner fills you with anticipation and it makes your heart race or your stomach turn over, this might be too much anticipation. If you get rushing thoughts of, it could be amazing this time, must make it good, don't mess up, this is overwhelm. If you're desperate to get it right and play it cool at the same time, that is a lot of pressure. So with all this churn of emotion and self-talk going on, can you really expect to keep it together? Can you expect to be able to slow down the pace and properly do the things you've learned about lasting longer and sharing pleasure? Maybe, but this level of excitement works against you, so we need to get it down to find a better balance. Still aroused, of course, feeling good, but hot and unbothered is the way to go. Think about some of the other things that you do. Sports, a workout, social gatherings. Activities that are compelling and enjoyable, but don't get you rushing with anxiety and nerves. Sex needs to be more like that. And if that feels impossible, if sex feels too special and too exciting, it's over too soon. And there is your problem. Some guys tell me that their partner seems less excited than them. Partners who enjoy sex, but don't seem to bask in the afterglow. They have fun, they kiss, and they get on with their day or night. That's not their verdict on your performance. That's a pretty good model they've got there. Guys who experience PE could benefit from being more like that. So we're talking about doing the opposite of DE treatment, lowering anxiety, feeling slightly more bored by sex even. Get it off that pedestal of a special activity to a fun, shared activity for a duration of time. Lecture over for now. So to wrap up, delayed ejaculation and early ejaculation. Two frustrating problems, lots of overlap. And I think it's beneficial to see them both through a single lens. Whatever your own experience, I hope this has been insightful. If you have any questions about premature ejaculation or sexual confidence in general, please feel free to get in touch. And my website is linked in the description below. And you'll find lots more advice in my Bang on Time self-help course, which teaches the essential skills for managing your sexual excitement and enjoying sex for longer. And there's a link to that in the description too, guaranteed. Also remember that I'm a therapist sharing my opinions and general advice, but this is no substitute for going to see your own GP or doctor. So if you have any concerns about health or your sexual health, you should go and get a medical checkup and take some advice. Thank you very much for watching.